It's Sunday, the 17th of July, 2022. Thank you for tuning in to Deprogram, video number 22. This is the most important video I've ever recorded, and I think it's actually the most important act of service I've ever contributed to the human family in my life. The message I'm trying to get out in this video is for the 60,000 American troops who were recently wrongfully dismissed for not submitting to suicide, basically. Apparently, 60,000 American troops have been dismissed from the military because they don't want to subject themselves to a patented, proven biological weapon. And the thought that these men and women could just sacrifice their careers and just, crawl away with their tail between their legs is just horrifying to me. This is the opportunity of a lifetime, and not only the military personnel's lifetime. I mean, this is a monumental event, and nobody's talking about it. And I looked back over my earlier videos and I said, I'm not going to record videos when I'm angry because I don't like myself when I'm angry. I don't like the way I look when I speak when I'm angry. And I've been working on this video all weekend, and I'm trying to not appear angry. And the truth is, the reason I'm angry is because nobody else is talking about this. I've got like 50 subscribers. I haven't been doing this for very long. I don't share my videos. I only shared one video with members of the independent media who I thought would make use of the idea that I shared with them. That's the video that got over 400 views, and all the rest of them have like 100 views. I'm very new to this. I think a lot of people would probably not even upload the videos that I upload, but because I'm trying to share some insights that I'm not hearing from everyone, I wouldn't practice this, communicating with a camera lens thing just to practice it. Like, if I'm not going to upload the video, I just wouldn't do this. So I upload them, and I know they're pretty rough, and I just do it anyway because there are important things that I need to share, but none of them come close to the importance of this message. And I was positive that other people would have picked this up and tried to make use of this, what's happened. I mean, 60,000 men and women, that's the cure. That's the solution to everything that's wrong with the world today. Right there in front of our face, 60,000 men and women being wrongfully dismissed by pedophiles and criminals, racketeering, murderous, thieving. The people who have made the decisions to dismiss these troops, they don't get much lower. I mean, a snake, literally a snake on the ground, they're about that level. To think that this could happen without any pushback, without any voices in the freedom movement, the backward moving freedom movement, none of them speak up and say, hey, let's get behind our troops. They should not be losing their careers because they don't want to commit suicide. Let's put out some content to support them, to let them know that they could solve this whole nightmare. Not a whisper, not a word. The only thing that has been said about it is this. Have a look at this.
1,000 Army soldiers in the U.S. Army are going to find themselves cut off from their pay, from their benefits, from their insurance, from everything. And you say, well, what did they do? Did they sign up to fight in favor of Russia or something? No. They didn't. In fact, today is the deadline. Let's put up that next clip from the Daily Caller. Army boots 60,000 unvaccinated soldiers amid recruiting crisis. So they can't find anyone to fight in the Army. The 60,000 who've said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and pass on that shot because A, as the CDC says, it doesn't prevent against infection and it doesn't prevent against transmission, so it's not a vaccine. I'll pass. Thank you very much. The U.S. military says you're out. 60,000 today.
You know, I've always complained about sending young people off to these many, many wars in the last quite a few decades. And they go, the war has not been declared, it's unconstitutional, and they're supposed to go over there to defend the Constitution, to defend our liberties. But here, these individuals that are in the military, they want to use their liberty, freedom of choice, and do they lose all their liberties once they're in the military? So they can't even use what they're expected to go out and be exposed, possibly to their own lives being exposed because they're in the military, and that's what they're supposed to do. So it is a rotten system, and it's so bold, but I just can't understand why there's not more resistance.
God bless you, Dr. Paul. Truly a gift to the species. I really am so thankful that I'm alive in a time when I have someone like Dr. Ron Paul to look up to and learn from. He's really a gift to the people of this earth. I have a few ideas about why there's not more resistance. I believe it has something to do with the fact that everybody feels alone, even though most of us are feeling, the effects of the injustices and the crimes that are happening, the bold-faced crimes that are just an insult to the intelligence of every thinking person right in front of our face. We're looking at these things and we watch them and we think we're the only one that sees them. Everybody sees them, but we're not connected. That's what video 20 was about. Anyway, we're moving on now. And I can't believe that these troops have not got the support of every single person who talks about freedom, talks about human rights, talks about justice. There's so many voices in the independent media. People who I have, not always, because I only came across them in the last few years, but for a number of years now, these people I have had so much respect and admiration for. I listen to the things that they say about personal liberty and human freedom and human rights, and I think to myself, these are good people. These are the kind of people I want to align myself with. And it wasn't until I started out on this video recording venture that I learned things that have been incredibly disappointing for me. It seems to me that this online freedom movement that is only online is strictly going to stay online because nobody's willing to step out of their comfort zone and put out a message that could actually have an impact in the real world. Everybody wants to stay safely in their comfort zone, keep the donations flowing, don't upset anything or don't, turn things upside down by motivating a physical movement in the world, because that might cause what? It's got to come back to money, doesn't it? And that's heartbreaking, because I looked at these people thinking that they were doing what they were doing and they would do it anyway, even if they got no donations. I thought that they would be speaking up as they do anyway. But then when I put forward an idea how they could take the freedom movement off the internet and move it into the real world, and there's just no interest whatsoever, I mean, it doesn't hurt me. It doesn't change my life at all. But it doesn't, all they're doing is just keeping everything online. But the enemy acts in the real world. Look at what's happening. 60,000 men and women have just been made jobless, potentially homeless. And the other option was to be injected with a proven biological weapon that is a slow kill death shot. We're looking at these crimes being committed. Nobody's stepping up to hold anyone accountable. And the 60,000 men and women who could step up and hold someone accountable have no support. How can I be the only person to say, get behind these people? It's so simple. It's so obvious. All they have to do is round up these criminals. I mean, first they might want to organise something with some local sheriffs or something, make sure they've got some cells available. But there's not many of these evil monsters, you know, that you could fit them all in one cell. People in the military are put through hell in their training. And I wonder if any of them have asked themselves, why is it that they have to be malnourished and sleep deprived and pushed to the limits of exhaustion and traumatized in every way you can think of, shouted down and screamed at? What's all this about? Well, I'll tell you. It's about making sure they never hear a message like this and take it on board, take it into their soul and register what I'm saying as, this is the message you need to hear to give your soul the test that it needs, actually why you were put on this earth. I mean, we're all here for our spiritual development, okay? This is my belief. You might have a different belief, but from everything I've looked at, we're here to develop our soul so that our consciousness can move into a better place. But we have to learn the lessons that we're here to learn. People that join the military go through all this training to keep them in that mindset where they follow orders, they don't think outside of their training and their orders and their tunnel vision, the mission, you know. Because if the men and women of the military start free thinking and contemplating, hang on a minute, should I really go and act violently against people who have not done any harm? Is that right or wrong? You know, the ruling class, they can't afford to have members of the military thinking that way. And every aspect of their training is about this type of mind control. And I know a lot of people won't want to believe that, but if you just think on it, just let it process in your mind. Why do you have to be treated that way? What possible benefit could there be for you? There's none. It's all about the system. It's about making you a machine of the system. And, you know, I don't want to be two-faced here. I personally don't have relationships with people like police and military officers. I don't know anyone. For me, I see them as being the most dangerous people on earth. And I know that some people will say, well, that can't be right. You know, what about the Rothschilds and the bankers and the warmongers, like these neocons, and, you know, they're the most dangerous people. No, they're not. Because if the men and women of the police and military stopped following orders, those oligarchs and neocons and the real evil, they would just be like neutered. They'd be They'd be chopped off at the knees. They would have no effect in the world. They could just sit there in their own misery and die without ever causing harm to anybody else. The reason those evil people are able to inflict the death and suffering and the worldwide misery is because police and military follow orders. You all need to be asking yourselves, and when is it not okay to follow orders? Because now that these monsters have shown their hand, what they expect from you, people in the military, from the people of the world, they've shown their hand now. They've come out from behind the cover of darkness and they've exposed themselves. And we've been able to really look on and see the level of evil of the ruling class today. Now that we can see it, we can predict that they will be coming down with some orders that are going to be horrific. I mean, now everyone can see the level of evil, and the police and military have to start asking themselves, when do you not follow orders? When do you look at the doctrine of lesser magistrates? If you don't know what that is, it's very important that I incorporate that into this video, because there are two separate areas where you, as even the lowest ranking member of the military, the lowest ranking police officer, you have the authority to apprehend your seniors and make the world safe. Put them wherever they need to be, where they can't inflict harm on anyone. You actually have the authority to do that. Not from me, from the Bible, the Holy Bible. The doctrine of lesser magistrates is just the title given to a teaching that comes through the Bible in some 70 separate examples, where it is shown that God rewards those who are lesser magistrates. So people who work for the authorities, I mean, now it's the government, but in those days it was a king, and then the kings had their soldiers who worked under them, and so they're lesser magistrates. When lesser magistrates say, no, we're not going to inflict harm on innocent people because that's morally wrong, and you shouldn't be giving immoral orders, so you're the one that we need to take out of action. Any lesser magistrates who actually look at that and live up to it are rewarded. In over 70 cases, they always come out better off. In the Bible, the book that was written in 2013, The Doctrine of Lesser Magistrates, goes through many of the 70 examples of what the doctrine of lesser magistrates is all about. And it's a book that I want to recommend it, but at the same time, it's not very LGBTQ friendly. And for that reason, many people might not want to read it. The point is just to understand what the doctrine is and where it comes from. It comes from the Bible. And I'll give you an example of an early example of the doctrine of lesser magistrates. So, in the first century after the death of Jesus Christ, there was a soldier named Marcus Ulpius Traianus, and he was a very powerful soldier. Like he made his way up through the ranks of being a soldier to become an emperor, who was named Emperor Trajan, but they gave him very he was really well loved by the people. They called him a name I haven't got the paperwork with me now, but the name they gave him meant the greatest and the best. And forgive me, it's not about the names. The point is, the example I want to share with you is when Emperor Trajan was giving a sword to one of his subordinates. He was issuing the battle sword, and he said, if I give righteous commands, use this sword against my enemies. But if I give unrighteous commands, use this sword against me. And that, in a nutshell, is what the doctrine of lesser magistrates is. An honourable ruler, leader, who has his morals in the right place, would have no hesitation in saying that. Because any leader who's going to lead large numbers of people must be a moral person, because otherwise we're going to see where we are today. That's the result. And somehow this doctrine has just been lost, because all the people that are handing down orders today should have had the sword used against them before things ever got this bad. And, this is all the social engineering that goes on with the media and television and all the rubbish they pump through our brains to make us think that there is no spirit, there is no God. We're all just material 5 sense beings, and they've just hollowed out the human experience completely. And they've had to do that to get us to this point. There's no accidents here. Where we are today has been carefully engineered for decades. And they're so far along now that it's going to take some serious effort and major rethinking and potentially a lot more suffering, which I don't want to see. And the only way we're not going to see that amount of suffering is if everybody who understands that we don't have any politicians to turn to, we don't have any leaders who want to lead us towards personal liberty, and no leaders today actually want to see the free market of ideas and the economy develop in a way where everybody can profit and there be the largest middle class possible, and all the things that make life worth living are one by one being removed. And we can see this happening. We can see the destruction, the path of destruction we've looked at in the last 2 years is just like nothing I ever imagined would happen in my lifetime. And I'm just watching it like a slow motion train wreck. And I can see that there's no way anything is going to change unless a large number of people get together and organize themselves in a way that brings physical action into the real world. And I wanted to see that happen in a peaceful way, at least just on a community level, where we got involved in sharing data, sharing the truth about the lies that we've been told around COVID. And nobody's interested in that. And maybe it's for the better. Maybe that's because this message that I'm trying to share now, it would actually be far superior to that one, because instead of just working towards getting the truth out and getting more numbers on board, it could go straight to the heart of the problem. The people who have the physical capacity to end this nightmare could take physical action and round them up, put them away, and give us back our world. It's really not complicated. And I don't understand why everyone isn't recording this video that I'm making now. How can this be coming down to me, somebody who can't even use a computer, who has, not even 100 subscribers? It's like, it just blows my mind that everyone isn't getting behind these 60,000 troops and saying, this is the opportunity. Now is the time to act. Now is the time to put a stop to this. Because if you guys in America don't make this move, the whole world is it's over. I mean, we're just going to keep descending into this technocratic nightmare, which I don't want to be here for. I'm going to do everything I can to try to turn this somehow, some way, before it gets to that, because I don't want to live through that. And I just don't understand how I can be the only one saying, hey, troops, go and get these criminals and take them out of harm's way. You know, I don't understand why everybody isn't uploading videos saying to these troops, sort it out. Because the knock-on effect from that would be troops in all the other countries would see, hey, look what they've done. All they had to do was just go and round them up. It was so simple. I mean, what's the option? These 60,000 men and women are just going to lose their careers, potentially end up homeless, so that the Great Reset, technocratic nightmare, digital slavery can progress. Let's just, roll out the red carpet so that we can move on into digital slavery under a one world currency that will be time restricted and location restricted and product restricted. I mean, there'll be no point in being alive if we let it get to that. Something has to happen before it to stop it. You've got this, Henry Kissinger working through Klaus Schwab, setting up the World Economic Forum, and they've got their Young Global Leaders program. It's all out there. They're the people you need to round up. You just take them off the street, put them away, put them on trial. They should be on a crimes against humanity trial at The Hague. And I don't even know if that's a corruptible court. Then you just set up common law court hearings. You've got good lawyers who care about human freedom, and there's a lot of help out there. There's a lot of people that would help you to put together common law court trials. Obviously, the court systems that we use in the West, this maritime court, it's not a justice system. It's an absolute fraud, which you need to understand the Justinian deception to know why the current court system in the West is nothing we can use for this. But I haven't looked into The Hague. I know that that's something to do with massive war crimes. That might be where you want to send them. But you can set up your own courts where people are judged by the people. And, I mean, there's no one better to judge them. It's the people who are being hurt. It's the people who are being affected by these monsters. They should be able to judge them, or to decide, if they're guilty or not. And if they are, then, I can't explain this because I'm not a legal mind, but I know there are a lot of legal minds that will guide you troops through to give you the confidence to know that you take these steps to start with, and there are thousands of people that will get behind you. You will actually be like, how the names of the founders are still spoken about today because they set up the only free nation on the earth that is being destroyed as we speak. If some of you troops get organized and make this happen, you will be recorded in history, that you will never be forgotten. You will do something so great for the human family that you will be worshipped and loved. I mean, look, as I said before, history has shown me that people who follow orders are incredibly dangerous, and I don't usually have much good to say about them. But if you stop following orders and see the righteous act that you can take here, the move that you can make to turn the world around for everyone, you will have my love and admiration. But who am I? I'm just a guy. But if someone like me can say that you will have my love, you will have everybody's love, because it's needed. We need you. We need someone to step up and take these criminals out of the picture. And you are the only ones that can do it. And when you do it in the US, I know that the Aussie troops will get behind you and do it here. We've only got a handful of pedophiles here that need to be rounded up. And when our Aussie troops see the American troops doing it, I'm confident they'll get on board and do it too. And then it will have a knock-on effect around the world, and we can finally put an end to this slavery, this threat from these maniacs. And that's what I want to finish this video on. You know, I'm not doing this because I'm a fearmonger, or, I mean, for any other reason other than that I just want to see the world get better. Not back to where we were. No way. I want to see it better. And it can be very easily so much better. I want to finish this video with a couple of clips that will point out how serious things are from somebody else's perspective, not only mine. But before I get to that, I have a clip to share with you that a beautiful person subscribed to my YouTube channel. She's one of the 20-something subscribers. Kimberly, if you watch this, thank you for subscribing to my channel. I clicked on your channel to see what sort of content you looked at, and I found this video which was put out just before the 4th of July. And well, let me play it for you. Have a look at this and I'll come back. And you won't be able to read the small print, so when we come back, I'll read that out for you, what it says in the small print, and then I'll show you some other analysts talking about what we might have to look forward to, and then I'll wrap it up. All right, so have a look at this.
Hey there, fellow patriots. Happy 4th of July weekend. What if I told you that today, if you spend 10 minutes and send one email, you have an opportunity to change the course of the future. You have an opportunity to take back this country. We've been doing a ton of research over the last several months. We've spent so many hours going through treaties and constitutions and Lieber codes and Gettysburg addresses and bankruptcies and all this stuff to unravel what they've always been telling us. And that is, it always had to be the military, and they never, ever thought she would lose. So come with me on a journey as I first tell you what to do, and then I'm going to tell you why. Watch this to the end. And if you're an influencer, please share this far and wide. Learn this information, teach it to your followers. We need 100,000 people to send an email this weekend in order to get the force majeure, in order to get to that critical mass, to effectuate change. So let's get started.
Hey guys, sorry in advance, but I'm a little sick compared to the way I was last night. Nonetheless, since this is time sensitive and we really want to collect these signatures by July 4th, I want to share with you We the People DeclareFreedom.com. I'll drop the link in the description below. On this website, I want you to go to Contact the Military. You're going to copy and paste this entire document into an email and send it to one single address. Then you're going to update your proper case name and address, and possibly even your phone number at the bottom. And then be sure to share this with every single patriot you know. It's time to call upon the military and to ask them to correct and resolve the issues that I'm about to explain in further detail. Again, since I'm sick, I'm going to go ahead and cut this video off here, and I'm going to create a version 2.0 so that we can explain to you why this is our final conclusion as to the way that we can take back our country. Godspeed, patriots, and thanks again to all the incredible people that brought us this hidden knowledge. We know that you paid the ultimate price to receive and distribute this information, and for that we are eternally grateful to you. Just remember, if you guys want to effectuate change, First, you gotta care, and I don't know about you, but I'm tired of negotiating with tyrants. Second, you need to have the knowledge, and third, you need to do something. So I'm asking you to take 5 minutes of your time and do something right now. Don't delay, do it now. Love you guys. Over and out.
So I don't know how successful that was. No one in the independent media gave it any coverage, so I don't know if they got enough signatures or what happened with it. Apparently nothing's happened, so... But I'm sharing it because this is the second place where you get the authority to take this action. The first place is from the Holy Bible. That gives you the authority to remove your superiors. And the second place you get authority from is from the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. So let me read you what was written in that blurry print, what she was encouraging people to sign and send off to whatever politician or what. I'm not exactly sure how that was going to work, but what it said was, according to our forefathers, the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution gives the men and women of the Union the right to seek protection when our government becomes tyrannical. The military was set up as the public trust protectors on November 19th, 1863, when Abraham Lincoln created the public trust to protect the 35 states of the Union. Therefore, we have a right to invite the military to take out these governments and restore the peace. Now, you have the right to remove tyrants even without the Constitution and without the Declaration of Independence. I myself have the right to remove these criminals if I had the physical ability to do it. We all have the right. We don't just have the right. We actually have the moral obligation to the human species to put an end to this. Anybody who knows what's happening and has the physical capacity to stop these crimes from being committed and to hold these evil criminals accountable, you don't just have a right to do it. It's a moral obligation. If you have any sense of a soul in you, if you have ever connected to the idea that you are more than just your physical body, you have to consider what it means to allow this to go on. If you have military training and you're armed and you have the physical capacity to gather up your colleagues and put these people on trial, and you choose not to do that, you will have to answer for that. And I would say it's no joke. I mean, the amount of suffering that these monsters are causing, these neocons, what I'm going to show you next, if that doesn't inspire you to do something, we're all doomed. You know, the point I'm making is they're two separate areas that give you the authority to do this, and above those two areas of authority, it's just knowing what you are and the responsibility that you have to other living beings on this earth. It's above and beyond all authority, is the knowing within your soul that if you don't do something, you are allowing the death and suffering of millions of people. There need not be any more authority, but at least you have the Declaration of Independence, the Constitution, and the Holy Bible. What more could you need? Well, if there is anything more that you need, I'm going to run a couple of clips. So the first one is actually two clips from the same, it's Daniel McAdams of the Liberty Report, who did a presentation at, I forget what it was called, but they had a conference. And I've taken two parts out of his presentation and put them together. And then after that is Gonzalo Lira. This is an academic who is in Ukraine, who follows politics very closely. He's a highly educated man, and he's somebody that I would say, with his academic ability, he's an analyst that I believe is somebody that we can listen to. Now, you may not think so, but he used to have a channel called Coach Red Pill, and he has a large following. He hasn't done a lot of content lately, but the point about it is the things that he's going to say, there are other people that I've heard this from as well. There was a guy named Joel, and I can't remember his second name, who's an older gentleman who said the same thing, and I couldn't find the video where he is telling us what these neocons are planning. And I don't want to make this too long, and I didn't want to go searching for another video because I just want to get this uploaded. But before I say bye, and I'll let you just look at these clips, Gonzalo Lira says something how Americans just do nothing. And he sounds kind of frustrated by it. And I just want to give you my perspective on that, because I don't believe that Americans do nothing, just because you're careless and lazy and apathetic. I think it's you have been engineered. In my view, from what I'm looking at this stuff closely all the time, and the way these things happen, and it's not an uprising, I guarantee you that the recipe they're putting in our water supply is the same, if not worse, than what they put into the concentration camps in Nazi Germany. I can smell it. They are poisoning us with the water, with the air that we breathe. The stuff that's coming down from the sky has got nanotech in it. The stuff that's going on is seriously bad. It's hard to believe that anyone would want to wipe out the human population. But this is not my opinion. There is so much data out there telling us that they're distributing this spike protein bioweapon now is being distributed through aerosols. It's being installed genetically into vegetables, and they are injecting it into livestock. The things that these monsters are doing are literally going to wipe out the human population. And I'm talking about an extinction level act of evil here. It is documented, verifiable, it's happening. Some people need to step up and put a stop to it. And when you hear Gonzalo talk about how frustrated he is that Americans don't do anything, understand that you have to overcome the level of both poisoning and mind control, this social engineering that is sort of forced in with the metals and the effect that all the metals that are in our body, the way that's affected by the electromagnetic radiation and the fluoride, and it's all being compounded into, I believe, the reason why this just keeps going and going and going, and nobody actually steps up and grabs these criminals and puts them on trial. There's a lot of engineering gone into this. So I wanted to share that because you'll see the frustration from Gonzalo, and I share it, I understand it, but at the same time, I just wanted to explain those reasons why I think it's happening, because that's what you have to overcome in order to step up and act. You have to realize how much is sort of forcing you not to act. You've got to see it for what it is so that you can rise above it. I'm calling on you to do that, and I'm calling on everybody who hears this message. please share it. I mean, don't do it for me. If I don't have any subscribers or any views, it's not going to hurt my life. I'm asking you to share this because if we don't get behind these troops and really motivate them to do this, your future and your children's future, it's all laid out. It's all been planned. It's called the Great Reset. It's all planned out. They will be slaves. And, you know, if you don't want to share my video, make your own video. But please, get this message out to these troops. We need somebody to step up and turn this around. You know, I can't beg any more than that. You know, I don't give a fuck if you want to help my channel grow or not, because I'm not doing this for, like, you know, to be popular and to have likes and all this. I just don't want the world to be doomed. So do your own videos if you don't want to share my videos. But for fuck's sake, do something. Get something happening in the real world, please. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I'll be with you again, hopefully in a better mood. Hopefully we see something change. Fingers crossed, hey. God bless everyone. See ya.
I think we are now, and this is not a laughing matter, we're facing the greatest danger of nuclear annihilation that we have ever faced, and that includes the Cuban Missile Crisis. So we need to let that sink in and really be sober about this. That's why we're here. We are facing the potential of a life-ending nuclear war. And unlike in 1962, there are not cooler heads. Yeah, you had the CIA pushing things, you had all kinds of deep state people pushing things, but you also had people around JFK who were level-headed. We don't have that now. There are no brakes. The brakes are off. The people that are running things are high on their own supply, let's put it that way. So we're in a much greater danger, and that's why we wanted to call this meeting now to discuss what we're facing and at least go on record opposing it. Sources. Freeman concludes, there is a risk that the administration will inhale its own propaganda and underestimate the risks it is taking. And that's what we're seeing. That is the danger of having your foreign policy guided by the Wolfowitz Doctrine, and we all know what that is, which is still, it's got a little bit of humanitarianism sprinkled over, but that's essentially what it is. So our foreign policy is being run right now by career mediocrities who inhale their own propaganda, we would say high on their own supply, and they are leading us dangerously toward nuclear annihilation.
Best equipped army and all that bullshit. The fact is they're going to be annihilated by the Russians like that. And after, the Biden administration, out of panic and out of a cavalier attitude that it's no big deal, they are going to use nuclear weapons. They are going to do that. The United States has never taken off the first strike option from its menu of options insofar as the military conflict is concerned. The Russians have. The Russians have stated definitively that they will never use nuclear weapons on a first strike basis. Never. Only in response to a nuclear attack. But the Americans have never made that promise. And the Biden administration, it doesn't know how to take a step back. It doesn't know how to wind it down. It only knows how to double down. And the Biden administration is clearly creating a provocation in Eastern Europe with Lithuania and Poland against the Russians, goading the Russians exactly as they goaded the Russians with Ukraine. Because remember, the reason this war started, and this is something that the US mainstream media will not tell you, the reason this started was because the Ukrainians had gathered their army, over 100,000 combat troops, in the Donbass, and they were getting ready to invade the Donbass and potentially invade Russia. That's why this war kicked off on the 24th of February, because the Ukrainian armed forces were going to invade the Donbass and Russia in mid-March. And that's the truth. That's a truth that is being hidden from you by the mainstream media in the United States, but that everybody outside of the United States and the Western European news bubble knows. You just have to look around a little bit and you'll find that what I'm telling you is true. So you have to understand that the Biden administration is goading the Russians in Lithuania and Poland over this Kaliningrad situation because they want a war with the Russians so that it will distract from the rampant inflation and the catastrophic economic situation going on in the United States. That's why they want a war. And you Americans who are listening to me, I'm not making money off of this video. This video doesn't do me any benefit at all. But I am telling you, this is what's happening, and you have to tell your leaders, your congressman, your senator, whomever, to not keep on goading the Russians pointlessly. I'm telling you this, but even as I'm telling you this, I'm trying to be, the good person to, use the audience that I've accumulated to spread a message that is reasonable. No more war. No more war, especially no war in order to cover up a deteriorating economic situation, which is what is going on here. The Biden administration wants a war, a direct U.S.-Russia war, to hide the catastrophic inflation and the catastrophic economic situation. That's why they're doing it. And I want to prevent that. And that's why I'm making this video. And please share it with as many Americans as you possibly can. And yet at the same time, I realize that it might be futile. Because so many Americans are so passive. I would say that the majority of Americans are just passive and accepting. They accept evil when they see it, when it's staring them in the face. When their own children are being, groomed to be catamites. When their own cities are destroyed and set on fire. When their entire nation is driven into the ground. And Americans just accept this. So I'm doing this video because I think it's the right thing to do. And yet at the same time, I have no faith whatsoever in the American people who, it could be that every single American in the United States listens to this video. And my fear is that they will do what they always do, which is nothing.